In this video, I'll show you how to write a script that will allow you to apply a special effect to multiple tokens simultaneously. I should also mention that because we're using the Roll20 API for this, a pro subscription is required. Okay, so let's get started. A little bit of context on this script. A while back, I posted a video on how to apply special effects to tokens, and I went through a bunch of different kinds of fatality type macros, where we start out with lines like this, where you provide a special effect to a selected token, and then you use the token mod API script to set its status marker to dead. Well, the challenge with this, if you tried to run one of these for a group of tokens, like if I try to run this fatality holy here, you're going to notice that it just sets all of the tokens to dead. It doesn't actually apply the effect. And the reason for that is the fx command itself is only designed to take one token at a time. So if you pass in a group of tokens, then it doesn't work properly. It doesn't know which one to use, and so the effect command doesn't actually fire. So what we're going to do is we're going to write some code that will take a list of all the tokens that were selected and apply the effect to each one of them. Okay, let's get started. So here's my game's setting page, and let's go into Settings, API Scripts, and we're going to create a new script. And I'm going to call this script multi-token FX. And then I'm going to scroll down here and let's zoom in on this so it's a little easier to read. There we go. We'll bump that up to 175%. All right. So what we want to do is start out by watching the chat box for a multi-token FX command. So for that, we're going to say on chat::message. And then we're going to put in a comma and we'll say function MSG. So we're going to take that message and we're going to run it through whatever is between these curly braces here. I'm going to put a semicolon at the end. All right. Now, the first thing we need to do is check to see if the message that was typed in is an API command. That is, it starts with an exclamation point. And so the way we do that is we say if msg.type does not equal API. So if this is not an API command, then we're just going to return. We're going to just jump right out of here. We're not even going to continue on. Okay, if it is an API command, then we want to check to see if it's our API command, if it's that multi-token FX command. And if we look at that command, if we come back in here and we look at the syntax for that command, you can see where we've got a couple of things going on here. We've got the actual name of the command itself, a space, the type of effect that we're doing, in this case a burst, and then the color of the effect, which is fire. So we're actually got three things that are being passed in here. The first thing we need to do is see, all right, is this initial item our multi-token FX command? So all this is contained in the message content property. So what we want to do is take the message content and we're going to split it into an array. So at the spaces here, we're going to split the message content up and we're going to check to see if the first thing in the message content is the multi-token FX command. And so for that, we're going to say var args equals msg.content.split and then a space. So we're taking the message itself and we're splitting it at the spaces. So now all those items, the command itself and then the two parameters we were passing, are stored here in args, right? So if we come back here, we've got three items. So the array would contain three elements. This would be element number 0 because JavaScript arrays are 0 based. Burst will be array item number 1 and fire will be array item number 2. We're going to say if args 0 equals exclamation point multi-token FX, then we're going to do all this stuff. So if it does equal multi-token FX, then we're going to do whatever's inside these curly braces here. And if it doesn't equal multi-token FX, then we're just going to let it go on by. So what we want to say now is var fx type. So this is going to be the type of effect. If we look at this, you see I've got burst for my type. And this is actually coming from Roll20's documentation itself. If we go back to the help here, we see that the type of effect can be beam, bomb, breath, bubbling, and so on. So we want to have that be our first parameter, the type of effect. So var fx type is going to equal args1. So that's the first thing that we'll do. And then we're going to say var fx color equals args2. And again, the fx color is a predefined list from Roll20. You see color can be acid, blood, charm, death, fire, and so on. So we're going to pass in multi-token fx, the type of effect, and the color of the effect, and that's going to actually produce the effect on screen. Now, because we have a list of predefined effect types and colors, we only want the command to accept those predefined types and colors, right? So if somebody puts in something that isn't in this list, we want to not allow the command because that would cause failures, and we want to notify the user and say, hey, you've entered something that's not valid. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an array of all of the types and then an array of all the colors, and basically we're going to check and make sure that whatever type or color that the user passed in is a legitimate value. So for that, what we're going to say here is var fx types equals, and then this is just going to be an array containing all of those items. So beam, bomb, breath. I'm about to fast forward time here so you don't have to watch me type all this stuff. Okay, so I've just finished typing in the rest of these. Bubbling, burn, burst, explode, glow, missile, nova, splatter. Those are all our valid fx types. We're going to do the same thing for the fx colors. And these are going to be acid, blood, charm, and I'm going to fast forward time again. Okay, so there we go. There are the rest of the valid colors. Okay, so now that we've done that, we need to make sure that the fx type that was passed in and that the fx color was passed in are both present in these lists. So to do that, we're going to say if underscore dot contains, and I'm going to type this command out and then I'll go back and explain what it's doing. fx types, comma, fx type. Okay, so we'll start out with this. So if fx types contains the fx type that was passed in, and underscore dot contains is a method coming from a helper library called underscore that's included in Roll20's API scripting engine. And so it's just a bunch of helper utilities that let you do things a lot easier and faster. So we're just saying if this fx type is contained in fx types, so it's one of these values that we defined up here, and we're going to do the same thing, underscore dot contains fx colors, fx color. So if the color that was passed in is in the fx colors list and the fx type that was passed in is in the fx, should be fx, there we go, fx types list, then we need to fire off the effect. Okay, now, when you fire off the effect command, you provide something like this, beam dash acid or breath dash fire. So we need to combine the fx type and the color with a hyphen in between. So for that, we're just going to say let full fx equals fx type plus a dash plus fx color. Okay, now, at this point, you may be looking at this and saying, what is this let statement doing? Okay, a let is like a var in that it's used to define a variable. The difference is scoping. So the let command here means that this variable will only exist within this if statement, compared to, say, the var fx types, where I can use this array all throughout the entire function. Whereas the let is only going to be good within these two curly braces here. Okay, so now we've got our full effects. So now what we're going to do is for each selected token, we want to fire off that effect. So what we're going to say here is underscore dot each, and underscore dot each is another one of those helper commands from the underscore library. And we're going to say msg.selected. This is what gives us a list of all of the objects that were selected when the command was sent into the chat. And we're going to say function selected item. So essentially what we're saying here is take each selected item from the message selected list and run it through these curly braces right here. So what we need to do now is get a reference to each individual token that was selected. So for that, we're going to say let token equal get object graphic, comma, selected item dot underscore ID. Okay, so what's this doing? Again, we've got a local variable here. This token is only good in between these two curly braces. And we're saying get the graphic object with that token's ID. And in Roll20, graphic objects can be tokens or maps or cards. So we're saying give me a graphic object with that token's ID. And now what we're going to do is fire off the effect. We're going to say spawn fx. We're going to say token get left, comma, token get top, full fx, token get page ID. Okay, so what's all this? When you spawn an effect in Roll20, you need to specify the X and Y location on screen where the effect will occur. So that's what this is doing here. Token get left, this is the X coordinate of where the effect is going to fire. Token get top is the Y coordinate. Full effects will be the burst of fire or the bomb of holy, whatever it is. And then token get page ID is which page in the campaign are we firing this effect off on. All right, so let's save this and we'll take it for a spin. We're going to say multi-token FX, and let's do a burst of holy. All right, there we go. Fantastic. So it works. Now, we could leave the script just like that if we wanted to, but it would be helpful to put in some error handling. So if the user doesn't have tokens selected and we try to run this script, we're going to get failures because nothing is selected and we're going to get undefined error messages and it's just going to be unpleasant. So after we've determined that we're doing the multi-token effect command, we're going to check to see if msg.selected equals undefined, that is, nothing is selected, then we're going to send a message. We're going to say send chat. That message is going to be coming from the multi-fx API. And we're just going to whisper to this to the GM. We're going to say WGM to whisper to the GM, and we'll say, please select some tokens. And then we're going to return. If there's nothing selected, we're going to send a notification into the GM, and then we'll gracefully exit this function so we won't cause any failures. So let's save that, and let's give that a try. Okay, so I'm back in my game. I don't have any tokens selected. Let's run the command again. And there we go. We get a message saying, please select some tokens. Awesome. Okay, so our first bit of error handling is done. Now what we want to do is look at these effect types and colors. And if a user types in something that isn't in here, we want to notify them that it's not in there, right? So if they accidentally type in some sort of an effect that isn't in the FX types, or if they put in a color that's not in there, we're not going to run that. We have this logic here that says we're only going to do this if those types and colors are present, but we want to notify the user if that's the case. Otherwise, they may be entering something and not seeing anything happen and being like, hey, what the heck's going on here? So what we're going to do is come down here, and so in our if statement, we're going to say else, right? So here's we're saying if they are in there, then do the effect. Otherwise, if not underscore dot contains FX types. So we'll start out with this. So if the FX type that was passed in is not present, then we're going to say send chat, and we'll do just like before, multi-FX API. And we'll say, again, another message whispered to the GM saying, acceptable FX types include. And then we want to put in this list right here, all of the FX types. Well, I don't want to have to type those out again. That's kind of a pain, especially if additional FX types get created later. then I have to update the list in two places. I'd have to update the list of FX types here, and then I have to come down and retype them. So what I'm going to do instead is put in a plus, and I'm going to say FX types dot join. And what this does is it concatenates all of the items in the array into a single string, and it's going to separate them with commas. So this is actually going to work really well for what we're looking to do. And then we're also going to put in another if statement, which is going to check for if not contains FX colors, FX color. So same deal, if the color that was passed in isn't there, we're going to do the same thing. Send chat, multi-FX API, and again, we're going to whisper a message, acceptable FX colors include, and same deal, plus FX colors dot join. Okay, so now let's save that. All right, let's give it a try. Okay, so now we're going to select everything. We're going to put in an invalid FX type. I'll put in implosion. All right, that's not one of them there. And there we go. We get acceptable FX types include, and there's our list. All right, now I'm going to try, we'll do burst. So that's valid. And then instead of, I'll put in profane. Profane is not a valid FX color. FX colors include, and there we are. So now we have some really good error checking in our script, and that's going to make it possible for us to prompt the user when something goes wrong. So now what we can do is modify that macro that I did earlier. So if I go back to the fatality fire, I can change this, and I'll create I'm just going to copy this here, and let's create a new one. All right, so we'll make a new macro, group fatality fire. I'm going to paste in that original one. We're going to change this one. We're going to say multi-token FX, and let's do burst fire. Save the changes. Okay, and now I'm going to make these guys not dead anymore. Okay, so I've got all of them there. Let's put this into the bar. All right, we'll select everything and group fatality fire. Boom, all of them got burned, and they all have the X applied to them. So now we can do effects on multiple tokens at once, and then apply the dead status marker to them as well. So there you go. I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like and consider subscribing. And until next time, folks, have a great day.